Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Joe Biden criticizes Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump is partially immune for his actions, says the decision sets a dangerous precedent. Israel orders Palestinians to leave southern Gaza area after Lebanon fires barrage of rockets towards Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel's military is nearing the end of the stage of eliminating Hamas army in Gaza. Unusually fierce and early start to Atlantic hurricane season as Beryl smashes into the eastern edge of the Caribbean at Category 4 strength. US National Hurricane Center says extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to reply to the discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address in the lower house of Parliament today. And France and Portugal failed to impress against lower-ranked teams as they scraped through to the last eight, set up a clash at the quarterfinals in Euro 2024 football tournament. News in detail now. The US Supreme Court has granted former President Donald Trump limited immunity from prosecution for official acts taken while in office. The justice's ruling on Monday by a 6-3 margin means a potential trial into his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election is delayed even further, a major boost for his 2024 presidential campaign. DD India's Benji Hire sends us this report.
This is a landmark ruling from the Supreme Court coming at a politically fraught time in America. The court holds that a former president, in this case Donald Trump, but this rule would apply to all, has absolute immunity for core constitutional powers and a presumption of immunity for official acts, but no immunity for unofficial acts. What does this mean exactly? Well, it'll now be down to lower courts to actually decide, but justices have weighed in on the matter, saying that some of the acts that Donald Trump took as part of his alleged attempts to overturn the election outcome of 2020, those would fall under official acts. His inciting of his supporters to march down to the heart of American democracy, which then descended into that deadly riot we saw on January 6, 2021. Justice is also implying those come under official acts too, and therefore under this ruling, Donald Trump would be immune from prosecution. The main outcome from what we've seen on Monday is that the real distinction, the decision between official and unofficial, without getting too much into the weeds, that now goes down to lower courts. And that decision will take some time, in effect pushing a potential trial, another criminal trial for the former president, beyond the November 5th date that Americans would go to the polls. That has been met with elation and relief, unsurprisingly, from Donald Trump, who calls this a big win for the Constitution and for democracy. There is dismay, however, from some of the liberal justices on the bench who say that this makes a mockery of the principle that no man is above the law. They fear that it could set a precedent in the future, that a president could in effect be immune from ordering the assassination of their political rival. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's campaign claimed this changes nothing, that Donald Trump's actions in the lead up to and on January 6, 2021, none of that has changed, and they insist that Joe Biden's re-election campaign will continue to highlight that Donald Trump is willing to do anything to gain and to hold on to power for himself, and that the American people have already rejected the former president. Biden's campaign claims they will do so again, but polls are not looking in his favor. We're, of course, coming off the back of a very troubling debate performance from Joe Biden, and this ruling will reinforce Donald Trump's narrative that this is a witch hunt, according to him, against him and his political allies. Meanwhile, the special counsel, the main prosecutor overseeing this case for the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, he so far has declined to comment. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And US President Joe Biden has strongly criticized the Supreme Court ruling, calling it a dangerous precedent that did a disservice to the American people.
Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
Well, updates on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israeli military has asked the residents of several neighborhoods in eastern Khan Yunis in southern Gaza to evacuate to east after rockets were fired towards Israel. And it comes after about 20 rockets were launched in the heaviest such attack in months, with a number intercepted and others landing in open areas with no injuries reported. Elsewhere, fierce fighting continued for a fifth day in Shejaya in north of Gaza and in the southern Rafah area. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday that Israel was nearing its goal of taking out the military capabilities of Hamas. He added that less intense operations would continue. Take a listen.
We are advancing to the end of the phase of eliminating the terrorist army of Hamas, and there will be a continuation to strike its remnants.
Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis said on Monday that they conducted 4 military operations on target for 4 ships in the Red, Arabian and Mediterranean seas, as well as the Indian Ocean linked to the United States, the United Kingdom and Israel. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi group has been launching drone and missile strikes on shipping lanes since November, saying they are in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. And Iran's presidential debate becomes interesting. Candidates open up with their views on foreign policy and economic reform just days before the two men will face a runoff election on 5th July. Saeed Jalili, who is considered loyal to Iran's supreme leader, went head-to-head with his more moderate opponent, Masoud Pezeshkian, who questions his country's isolation, backs women's rights, more social freedoms and cautious detente with the West. Jalili plans to resolve the country's social, political and economic ills by adhering rigidly to the hardline ideals of the 1979 Islamic Revolution if he wins. Pezeshkian, with his moderate views, narrowly beat hardline Jalili for first place in Friday's first round vote.
It is wrong to think that everything depends on these three powers, and if they didn't come to negotiate, it will not work. Also, today, they are confessing themselves. The spokesman of the Foreign Ministry of America has said himself that they have endured a great failure with this imposing sanctions, but apparently we say no, it was not a failure for them, and the American side was the one who did not want their plan to work out. American or Europe, why can't our merchants get visas to go to European countries easily? Our businessmen can't go easily, our students can't go easily. What did we do that the world is like this with us? The neighbors even, for example, why doesn't Turkey give us our money? Why doesn't China give us back our dollars? It should comply with it, right? We have set the contract there already. They were supposed to be investments, they will not.
Moving further, China has said that US targeting of certain investments in artificial intelligence in China is not helpful to the healthy development of AI technology and will be divisive when it comes to global governance. The United States last month issued draft rules for banning or requiring notification of certain investments in artificial intelligence and other technology sectors in China that could threaten US national security. After 193-member UN General Assembly adopted by consensus a Chinese drafted resolution aimed at boosting international cooperation on AI capacity building on July 1st, China's permanent representative to the United Nations, Fu Kong, said they're firmly opposed to these sanctions. Fu said the US actions do not foster an inclusive business environment, and he urged Washington to reverse its decision.
We do urge that the U.S. will lift these universal sanctions. And again, coming back to the fragmentation issue, we don't believe that what the U.S. government's position or decision will be helpful to the healthy development of the AI technology per se, and will, by extension, divide the world in terms of the standards and in terms of the rules governing the AI. We do believe that it's important to be inclusive on this matter.
Now, former Peruvian presidential candidate Keiko Fujimori arrived in court at the start of a trial of allegations she received illegal funds from a Brazilian construction company and local firms, which could carry a jail penalty of up to 30 years. The politician, daughter of former President Alberto Fujimori, faces charges of money laundering and leading a criminal organization that received contributions for her 2011 and 2016 electoral campaigns. There are more than 40 other defendants, which include former officials and militants of Fujimori's party. She has previously said she was innocent and rejected the charges. The prosecutor said the origin of this money had been hidden from the electoral authorities and was used for political campaigns and for the Fujimori family's own benefit. Now, the activists have geared up for a new round of protests this week in Kenya, despite the announcement by President William Ruto that he would not sign into law the bill containing the tax hikes. At least 39 people have lost their lives in recent anti-government protests in Kenya against the new tax hike. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights announced the toll, which is almost double the figure previously disclosed by the government for those killed while demonstrating. Moreover, largely peaceful and anti-tax rallies led by mostly young Gen Z protesters descended into shocking scenes of deadly violence last week when lawmakers passed the contentious legislation. Later, following the announcement of the vote, crowds ransacked the Parliament complex in central Nairobi, and it was partly set ablaze as police fired live bullets at the protesters. Now, Hurricane Beryl has smashed into the eastern edge of the Caribbean. It is the strongest hurricane to pass through the region according to data that goes all the way back to 1851. DD India's Nick Harper reports.
Hurricane Beryl, a Category 4 hurricane, brought winds of 240 kilometres an hour and dangerous storm surges to a group of islands in the eastern Caribbean. The storm made landfall initially on Keriku Island on Monday morning local time, according to the National Hurricane Centre. Residents there and in the wider Grenadine Islands were warned to shelter from the high winds and extreme weather. Beryl passed south of Barbados, but the island still experienced winds of over 110 kilometres an hour. More than 400 people had been evacuated from their homes ahead of the hurricane's approach. There was also flooding from storm surges in parts of Grenada and Tobago. This hurricane marks a very early start to the hurricane season, which usually comes to the Atlantic Ocean later in the year. Beryl has also made history, becoming the earliest Category 4 to hit the region and the largest hurricane of this size to ever hit during the month of June. From here, Beryl is expected to continue its course towards Jamaica, coming close to the island on Wednesday, before moving towards Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Air Europa flight makes emergency landing in Brazil after severe turbulence. The incident occurred over the Atlantic Ocean, prompting the pilot to divert the aircraft to the nearest airport for the safety of passengers and crew. Several passengers sustained injuries and were treated upon landing. Soon the airline arranged second plane for their passengers. The royal family's holiday retreat Balmoral Castle opened its doors to the public for the first time in its history. Since 1855, visitors will now be able to catch a glimpse of royal life in the Scottish Highlands. The lucky ones who managed to purchase a $127 ticket will be able to enjoy 7 of the castle's rooms with a guide. The castle tour to continue till August 4th. Now, hundreds of drones lit up the sky over Hong Kong A display of 350 drones created various patterns in the night sky, including number 27 pandas, dolphins and more, attracting large crowds of residents and tourists along the waterfront. Catching the eyes of stargazers, this mesmerizing show offered a unique and modern twist on traditional fireworks. Now, Pixar movie Inside Out 2 crossed the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office in less than 3 weeks of release, reaching that level in the fastest time of any animated film in the history. The film is the highest grossing movie of the year and only one to cross $1 billion, said Disney, which owns Pixar. Inside Out 2 is a sequel to the 2015 hit about the inner workings of a young girl's mind.
It should be nothing but smooth sailing.
Hello! I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff? I knew.
Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India Energy Storage Week 2024 is underway in New Delhi. We'll get you a special report. Delhi High Court to hear Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's plea today. Singapore wins bid to host World Chess Championship match between Ding Lijian and D. Gukesh.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. In the Indian Parliament, debate on the motion of thanks for the presidential address will continue in both the houses. While the Prime Minister will reply on the motion of thanks in the lower house on Tuesday, he will reply in the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday. As the discussion on the motion of thanks will also be taken forward in the Rajya Sabha, 16 hours were kept for discussion on the President's address in the Lok Sabha and 21 hours in the Rajya Sabha. The discussion in the lower house was initiated by BJP leader Anurag Thakur on Monday. After that, BJP MP Bansuri Swaraj took the discussion forward. Leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, also took part in the discussion. This was the first speech of Rahul Gandhi in Lok Sabha as a leader of opposition. Now, with a vision to bring together stakeholders of clean energy future on the same platform, India Energy Storage Week 2024 is underway in New Delhi from 1st to 5th July. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh gets us more.
India Energy Storage Week kick-started at Yashobhumi in New Delhi on Monday. Through the week, deliberations will focus on domains of energy storage, e-mobility and green hydrogen sector. The aim is to get the entire value chain of clean energy sectors on the same platform.
So as you are aware, for India, energy transition is very, very important. We have taken our commitments for 2070 for net zero. A lot of investors are here. They are looking into what are the energy transition requirements in India, what is the manufacturing potential in India, and I think it is going to be a very good conference.
India Energy Storage Week is attracting global participation with over 30 countries, 250 regulators, policymakers, exhibitors and over 1,000 industry leaders.
There is no sector more important in the Australia-India bilateral relationship than the green energy supply sector. We have huge resources in minerals and energy that can support Make in India. And in particular, we have strong reserves of critical minerals. We're the largest producer of lithium on the planet and the second largest producer of cobalt on the planet.
Loham is India's first integrated lithium-ion company, critical material company, which is into recycling, repurposing, and cathode active material manufacturing company. We are the largest in India, and if you look at our stall, it's basically categorized into three pieces. One is dedicated to second life batteries. One is for materials, where essentially we recycle the materials and convert it into various salts. And then third is software, where we do analytics on the battery and then give the residual value to the customer.
The conference and exhibition is organized by India Energy Storage Alliance, a leading industry alliance focused on sustainable solutions. While clean energy is the future of the world, India Energy Storage Week explores the manner in which India holds the potential to become a global hub and market for energy innovations in the future. With camera person Aniket Dubey, Shubhendu Ghosh in Delhi for DD India.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Delhi High Court will hear Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's plea challenging his arrest by Central Bureau of Investigation today. He has called the arrest illegal. The probe agency arrested Kejriwal in the Rouse Avenue Court on June 26 while he was in judicial custody in a related Enforcement Directorate case over the scrapped excise policy. Now, spreading Zika virus becomes a cause of concern in India's city, Pune. 2 more cases were reported on Monday, summing the total number of confirmed cases in the city to 6. Both new cases involved pregnant women. The pregnant women infected with Zika are considered to be at higher risk. To curb the situation, health officials are conducting anomaly scans for them. India's Amarnath Shrine Board Yatri Niwas or Pilgrims Accommodation Centre was illuminated with tricolour lights on Monday. Over 23,000 pilgrims on Monday paid obeisance at the Holy Cave Shrine of Amarnath in South Kashmir Himalayas, taking the total number of pilgrims past 51,000 mark in just 3 days. The goalkeeper Diego Costa saved all 3 penalties as Portugal won 3-0 in a shootout against a brave Slovenia in a dramatic Euro 2024 last 16 clash on Monday. Slovenia held Portugal to a 0-0 draw after Cristiano Ronaldo's extra time miss from the spot. Diego Costa was the man of the moment in the shootout as Slovenia choked right when it matters. Portugal will now go to the quarterfinals to face France on Friday night. Meanwhile, substitute Randall Kolo Muani scored with a deflected shot 5 minutes from time to give France a nervy but deserved 1-0 round of 16 over a disappointing Belgium. France's poor finishing continued with William Saliba and Mbappe both blazing over before Kolo Muani struck late to win it. And the Singapore Chess Federation has won the bid to host the FIDE World Championship Match 2024. The match will feature the defending champion Ding Lijian from China and challenger Di Gukesh from India. The Singapore Chess Federation will host the match between November 20th and December 15th. FIDE received 3 applications for hosting the World Championship match, namely India's New Delhi, Chennai being another option, and Singapore. After reviewing the bids and inspecting all potential host cities for the venues, amenities, event programs and opportunities, the country was chosen. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.